Hello there and welcome back to Bullets for Bucks. My name's Stephen Bresnaugh and today we're going to go over how to select a bolt action hunting rifle. So in the shop today I have a whole bunch of rifles, some of which I'm going to use as examples. I have a Howa HS Precision, a Ruger American, a Tikka T3X, and a Winchester Model 70. So first and foremost, you can come here and we can look at this. Now I've already made sure this is empty before the video started, all of these rifles actually. And this is a Ruger American. It features a cheap polymer stock. It has aluminum V-block bedding system in it. Has a cold hammer forged barrel. You know, it's not a bad rifle. In fact, this is a great option if you have a very low budget and you just want to get in the game. You just are getting into hunting. You don't have the money to put down on a serious rifle. You know, it's going to be very accurate, but it does have a plastic trigger guard and a lot of plastic components, so there is the propensity for it to possibly break down over the years or something to break or crack on it. Then we have a Tikka T3X. Now this happens to be a super light and it's rattle canned, and it has a little bit higher quality fiber reinforced polymer stock. It has a bedding system that's actually probably not as good in some ways as the Ruger. It has a separate piece of metal that binds between the receiver and the stock, but it's fully free-floated, very accurate rifle. It does still have a plastic trigger guard, although I think the newest versions, they changed that to metal. Features a single stack polymer magazine. The Ruger has a rotary polymer magazine. And then we come forward to the Howa HS Precision, featuring a fiberglass Kevlar reinforced resin stock with a full length, well, aluminum bedding block, the full length of the receiver, all metal components, integral recoil lug, part of the receiver, and, you know, obviously built with a lot higher quality materials and craftsmanship, and is therefore going to be more durable throughout the years. And then we have a classic a classic Winchester Model 70 with a controlled round feed, walnut stock, beautiful lines on this rifle, and just excellent materials, but going more for a classic look there. All right, so there's a lot of rifles out on the market. I do not recommend aluminum chassis for hunting rifles because their modularity and design usually causes them to get caught on twigs and sticks and branches, and mud gets into each little crevice and hole because they usually have, you know, M-lock or key mod rails on them. They have a lot of holes in them. They're hard to clean. They make a lot of noise when they rub up against sticks. They tend to be usually heavier and more uncomfortable to hold in the field. So we're going to leave chassis out of this and just talk about rifles. The thing I'm going to look for throughout the years, I've had, you know, polymer stock rifles. And while they get the job done, the rifles themselves tend to not be as consistently accurate because, well, they're just not as rigid. The stock itself and the bedding system just isn't as rigid as, say, a fiberglass or a carbon fiber or even a laminate wood stock. And they're a good, cheap alternative if you don't have the money to something more expensive. But if you do have the money for something more expensive, I encourage you to go with a carbon fiber stock or a fiberglass resin stock because it's going to be extremely rigid, crazy rigid. It's not going to flex and bend and warp with the elements even like a wood stock might, and it's going to just hold up to the test of time. Usually they have a aluminum bedding block in them, which provides an excellent foundation for your receiver to sit on, which can increase your consistent accuracy, and the components are just better. I also encourage you to make sure that your bottom metal and trigger guard is metal, or the magazine, if you have a magazine, that it's metal components, or at least partially metal components. They're just going to hold up better in the field. When it comes to barrels, a cold hammer forged barrel can be found on very cheap rifles to very expensive, and they're excellent. They're very durable, they last a very long time, and they do a great job. Also look for good treated good coatings or good treating to the metal. So a good bluing, a Cerakote, something that's going to hold up to the test of time. On cheaper rifles, usually the coatings aren't as good, and you're going to get pitting and rusting a lot faster in conditions that are damp. One of the main reasons I don't like Remington is just because of how Rustington they are. They rust so easily in the field. Another thing to look for in a good hunting rifle is get one that has a locking bolt when it's on safe. So when it's all the way in safe, look for a rifle that has a safety position that locks the bolt and the trigger, not just the trigger, because this will keep the bolt from getting pulled open and falling open, or pulled up and falling open and allowing a round to be ejected if you had one in there. If you don't, you know, dirt and grime and snow and water can get in there, or worst case scenario, you could even possibly have your bolt fall all the way out on the back of your backpack or while you're carrying it on a sling. So look for, the next thing to look for would be a receiver that's one piece, that has the recoil lug and as an integral part, one piece with the receiver. So a receiver that has the recoil lug as an integral part of the receiver. This is just going to provide more stability and consistency with the rifle. You know, now another thing to keep in mind is, you know, some rifles are going to have heavier barrels than others, and usually a heavier barrel contour, a thicker barrel is going to shoot more accurately while it's hot or take longer to heat up. And that can be very good, but just keep in mind that that can also be more added weight that you're carrying in the field. One thing I'm going to say, and this is kind of controversial, is I like a rifle with probably 7-8 pounds of weight on it. You know, a rifle that without the scope, without the rings, weighs about 8 pounds, 7, some pounds, 7 or 8 pounds. And the reason for that is it helps lessen human error, basically. If you twitch or you flinch or you jerk just a little bit, the heavier the rifle is, the more it's going to mitigate how that affects your precision and accuracy. If you have a super light rifle, it's going to be a little bit more finicky. It's going to be a little bit harder to shoot. It's not to say you can't learn to shoot it just as accurately, but keep that in mind when picking the weight of your rifle. I hope you enjoyed this quick, brief overview on how to choose a bolt-action hunting rifle for your hunting needs.